that is the most important thing, I think, in this journey is learning to trust yourself again, or maybe for the first time, learning to trust your gut and running it through and going, gosh, what do I need? How do I feel about this? And letting that guide you. I think that is so crucial.
Partner betrayal is disorienting, heartbreaking, and results in absolute confusion for the betrayed partner. You worry that nothing in your life was real, and you fear that you will never be able to trust your spouse or yourself again. Well, welcome to the Rebuilding Trust podcast with Carol the Coach. I'm Carol Jurgensen-Sheets, aka Carol the Coach, and what I can promise is that when you listen to my podcast, you'll begin to believe that there is hope. We will be hearing from experts all over the world who specialize in problematic sexual behavior, sex addiction, and infidelity. Together, we will be asking them the hard questions about how you both can rebuild safety, find strengths, grieve and mourn what you had, what you never had, and what you fear you will never find again. The truth is that rebuilding trust is possible, and I am going to show you the steps to working together to build a whole new marriage based on the honesty, authenticity, and transparency that your marriage deserves. Rebuilding Trust with Carol the Coach.
Well, I have been waiting for this interview for a while. This is a woman that I do know, but I don't know. And so I am as excited as you all are to get to know her a lot differently. Now, you would think I know her based on her book. It is Broken to Brave, and I'm talking with Tammy Gustafson. And I'm just going to show the book because it is incredible, as well as it really depicts the brokenness, the shattering of what partner betrayal can do. And yet it's such a hopeful book. Tammy, welcome to Rebuilding Trust. I know you're going to help our listeners to feel more secure and to feel like there's some hope for them. So I'm going to say welcome.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here and to share this time with you. So thanks for having me.
Well, yeah. And, you know, when I was reading the book, you do such a nice job of sharing your own story from the very beginning and also giving the reader new ways. I mean, I've been in this business now for 26 years, and I learned some really interesting ways of putting your life back together with just simple formulas. So I'm going to start out and ask you, what made you decide to write this book? Tell us a little bit about your story. Anything you feel comfortable talking about.
Absolutely. Well, I have been a counselor for, gosh, over 15 years now, but about 5, 6 years into that,
Mm-hmm.
the truth about my husband's betrayal came to light. And it shattered me, as I know everyone listening can understand. And so that launched me into a personal journey of healing and this very complicated, very painful, long road of healing, right? And so I made it,
Mm-hmm.
and our marriage actually did make it as well. And over the course of time, I really started to have a passion to help betrayed partners. And what I found as, when you're going through this, you have no idea which way is up or down, forwards or backwards. Everything just feels like you're walking through a fog. But over time, as I went through it, and then I walked counseling clients and coaching clients through it, what you find, and I know, Carol, you've seen this as well, is that there's patterns.
Mm-hmm.
And as I started to see those more and more clearly and going, man, there are definite patterns of healing. There's no one right way to heal, but there's definitely a path. And there's definitely a way that had I had this book, I think it would have been so much easier to know that there is another side, that it is possible to heal, and also to be able to have like guideposts along the way where you can be like, oh, this is where I'm at, and this makes sense, and this is what I can expect next, and this is what to focus on. So it really became my heart that I wanted to share this with those coming behind me.
Mm-hmm. Well, There is no doubt that you're a multitasker and you have experienced something that you figured out a way to put together for yourself. And then you wanted to do what I call an IRCM, post traumatic growth, and give back. And so you created this model based on Broken to Brave. And right off the bat, you're sharing with readers, I think, such an important formula to kind of orchestrate and redesign their life. Can you tell us about that?
Well, really, there's what I discovered and what I experienced is that there's really four phases of healing.
Mhm.
And how I define these and see these is it's really following the betrayed partner along the relationship path. So it's not pulling her out, it's not focusing on that, but it's walking her through here's what it looks like to walk through this relationally. And whether your relationship makes it or not, you can heal. And really the four phases. The first one, phase one is reveal, and that's where the truth comes to light. That's where the shattering happens, and you're really looking at trying to get the truth. And then phase two, I call rumble. And it's that long, messy middle where you don't know if you're going to stay or go. You're not sure if your partner is going to do the work or not. You're trying to find your voice and step into your strength and boundaries. And then phase three really happens where the direction of the relationship is becoming clear, whether that's the relationship is healing, you're going towards divorce, or whether you're staying, but he's probably really not doing the work and you're kind of in a roommate phase.
Mm-hmm.
And then phase four is shifting from the focus of the relationship and your partner or ex-partner, and it's this organic moment where the betrayed partner kind of takes a step back and goes, it's time to focus on me and it's time to focus on my healing and pick up these pieces. And the beauty is that when you pick up those pieces, you can heal and you can create a beautiful future for yourself that you are excited to live.
Mm-hmm. And I know for a lot of our listeners, they're in all different phases of partner betrayal. And Tammy, tell them your specific position with APSATS, the partner sensitive premier organization.
Well, I love APSATS. I've actually gone through the training. I am not yet certified, but I have gone through the training and I just have so much respect for it. In fact, the Betrayal Healing Conference that I do every year, the vast majority of the speakers are usually APSATS because
Uh-huh.
it's very aligned with my heart of really focusing on helping betrayed partners heal.
Mhm.
So yeah, I often refer to either APSATS clinicians or just refer and say, hey, check out the website, go find a clinician there if you need one.
I know you've been such an advocate for APSATS, and for those people that don't know, but I know that I used to have the APSATS podcast before Jake, and APSATS is that partner sensitive program that says partners are not crazy when they react a certain way. They are going through trauma. So everything we do looks at partners through a trauma lens. And that's what I felt your book did too. I would say the number one thing your book did was to say what you're going through is normal and only you will know how long it's going to take to go through the four stages that you created. But at the end, it gave so much hope. So obviously, many of our clients will say, well, how long does it take? How long am I going to feel this pain? When am I going to start feeling better? When am I going to get into what APSATS would call restoration, what IRCM calls is post traumatic growth? What do you tell partners when they're moving into those four phases?
Well, whenever somebody asks me how long it'll take, when one of my clients does, that's usually when I pull up my calendar and I start flipping through my calendar. And it's just enough to break the tension of being like, oh yeah, actually, you really can't answer that for me, can you?
Hmm.
And so I always hedge with that because this it will take longer than you want it to take.
Hmm.
And but you also get to take as much time as you need.
Hmm.
And I think early on, I had somebody give me a number and I just about died because I just couldn't fathom feeling the amount of pain I was going through for another day, let alone for months and years. And so I think it really depends on the person. There's a lot of ways to get stuck in this process.
Hmm.
And so that's actually one of the things that I'm so passionate about and that also prompted this book is that I want to help betrayed partners, and my audience is mainly women, but I want to help betrayed partners move through this process as smoothly and quickly as possible, however long that quickly means for them. But the worst thing is to get stuck in this process, right? We don't want anybody in this process longer than it takes. And there's very um, common ways that people can get stuck. And so being able to highlight those and say, hey, here's a pothole, heads up. Or if you're already in it, hey, let me reach down and help you out of that and let's get you going again.
Yeah, Tammy, Tammy, would you call it a summit that you have? What would you call your conference?
Well, it's the title is the Betrayal Healing Conference.
Yeah. Tammy has an amazing conference and she has heavy hitters that come every year to speak. But your organizational skills around that, I know for our partners, they don't even know where they left their keys. They're not sure what they're going to eat. But obviously, after the reveal, which is discovery, and whether somebody has shared or confessed what they've done or whether you found out, there's still that reveal that occurs that takes so long for the brain to process, doesn't it, Tammy?
Absolutely.
Huh? And for many of you, as you're listening to this Rebuilding Trust podcast, you're thinking, my brain will never be the same again. But what we find in post traumatic growth is it feels that way, it looks like that, it sounds that way, but actually, you would never have asked for this. But what you've gone through is going to take your life to the next level if you decide to. And Tammy, that is what you have done. I mean, her phases are reveal and then rumble. I love that. Did you get that from Brene Brown?
No, I didn't. I
Uh-huh.
got it from a rumble strip on the side of the road where you go off and it's like, "Ooh," and it's like a line's been crossed and it's like, oh my gosh, I can't stay here forever. So
Mhm.
that's actually where I got rumble from.
And she talks about that in the book. And, I'm always thankful for that rumble because as scary as it is, it can keep you safe. Brene Brown says the rumble is what you have to do to make sense and find yourself again. And then, of course, your next phase is redesign, right? After
Realign.
realign,
Yep.
yes. And
Close.
and and that is an important. Boy, that's so important to realign yourself. Share with our listening audience how you see that manifesting itself.
Yeah, I think the realigned phase, it's really going, man, you really, as you see the direction your relationship is headed and where you want it to go, if you're choosing that it's time to get out or whatever, you have to realign your life with this new reality. And I think it's important no matter what path you're on, whether that is the healing or the roommate or the divorce, it is a major time of transition.
Mhm,
And there's so much self-compassion
mhm,
that I offer to give yourself during this time. Um, because this is a story, man, none of us signed up for this for
mhm,
sure. And also, there's a unique grieving process and healing process throughout each one of these. And I think, particularly, I think we are most, I think the betrayal healing community is largely geared towards couples that heal,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And not so much for those who get divorced, but we have a category for that. It's the category of the roommates that I think get the least amount of understanding and kind of press time. And those are actually the women that I am most concerned about because there are a lot of reasons why some women have to stay after betrayal when their partner is not doing the work. A lot of really legitimate reasons, either financially or kid wise, or a lot of different things. And and there's no shame or judgment in that, but
Mm-hmm.
there has to be a whole shift in order to really stay and thrive. Otherwise, these are the group of women that I see that their lights dim and go out. And
Mm-hmm.
to me, that is the most tragic thing that could happen. It's the thing that gets me fired up the most is when I see a woman's lights start to go out. And there is a way to stay no matter what he's doing and to still thrive and live a life that you love to live. But it takes some really intentional work on that part.
Well, you talk about in the book what it looks like, feels like, and appears to be when somebody's stuck. And that's when the lights can go out, when they're really, really stuck and they're almost tired fighting and they don't see the resources available or they don't feel the support they need. And earlier you said self-care and we all know that self-care is the antidote to getting through this. It means whether you stay or whether you go, whether you divorce or whether you flourish. Believe it or not, couples can flourish, but it takes a lot of work on the addict's part to make that happen. And so many of you may be with somebody who isn't working as hard as you'd like them to, and they feel stuck. And that's when you and I both say, please stay focused on what you need as a person and create that in your life so that you're giving to yourself what you're not getting from your significant other, or maybe it's not there at all. Um, so that's part of that realign so that you can redesign, right?
Absolutely.
Hmm. And again, because we have people out there, including betrayers, who want to show their wife that they really want to understand. You said there's not a time frame, and APSATS doesn't really discuss a time frame. And I know Tammy's probably not going to like this because I'm going to say anybody can do it in the amount of time that their brain is capable of healing, in addition to the support they're giving themselves or they're acquiring from the environment. Wouldn't you agree?
That that sounds really good. Yes.
Mhm. And 3 to 5 years is what science is showing us for two different things. One, for compulsive sexual behavior to be replaced by healthy behaviors. And, men or women, whoever the sexual betrayer is, it takes a certain amount of time for neural circuitry to redevelop. And coincidentally, for the partner, it typically takes that amount of time to come out of the shock, or as you call it, the reveal, and to really begin to make sense of something that's nonsensical, right? And then to be able to breathe through it because of self care and really work on that realignment so that you can say, you know what? I deserve more. I want more. I need more. I can give that to myself. And I can ask for it. Maybe other people will also do that. So as you go through your book, share a little bit about what you found in working with partners and what has helped them the most.
You know, one of the things that I think betrayed partners need to hear,
Mhm.
and I'm not sure that we say this often enough, is that is permission.
Mm,
You have permission to be exactly where you're at. You have permission to take what you need. You have permission to fire a therapist if they are not aligned with where you're going. You have permission to feel your emotions. You have permission to take time off and go and go on a cruise or whatever you need. Like, you get to drive your healing process.
mhm,
And I think sometimes there can be a lot of pressure to do it quote unquote right,
mhm,
and a lot of fear of I don't want to do this wrong.
mhm.
And so a lot of times what happens is we end up reading all the books, which I have a book, so I'm like, yay, that's great. But and listening to all the podcasts, and that's so good. But I just want to give permission to everyone listening that take all that in, and that's fantastic. But then kind of sift through it and go, what resonates with me? What resonates in my relationship? Because you are the only one who truly knows what it's like to be in relationship with your partner and truly knows what it's like to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, shaking, or you're the only one who's having those conversations with your partner. And so you get to decide what works for you and what is right for you. And you can take what you need and you can let the rest go. And that includes anything I say or anyone else says.
Well, and what I thought you were going to say, because it's not necessarily a popular request of partners, but I say, you've been studying so much. You know the best podcasts, you know the best books, you know the best groups. I mean, when I started in this field, there was none of that. Your sexually addicted spouse and Affair of the Mind, which were both APSATS presidents, they were the only books out there. There were no groups and there were no podcasts. And we've gone the other direction. And it can feel like empowerment to hear from the experts about what to do. But what you and I want our our partners to know is that eventually they can trust their head, their heart, and their gut, that they have
Yes.
the answers inside. Can you say a little bit about that?
Oh, I'm so glad you said that. Yes, that is the most important thing I think in this journey is learning to trust yourself again, or maybe for the first time, learning to trust your gut and running it through and going, gosh, what do I need? How do I feel about this? And letting that guide you. I think that is so crucial. And sometimes, honestly, there are many clients where my homework for them has been between sessions is I don't want you to listen to any other podcast.
Me
And I
too.
want you to stop reading because it's so much and it's so overwhelming. I just want you to take a break and breathe and just listen to yourself. And maybe just, and also, like, if you never read another book, my gosh, I think most betrayed partners could have a PhD in this topic. They are so well read. And so I am sure most betrayed partners have read more books on this than I have.
Mhm.
And so just knowing it's not about getting more information. It's helpful, but then also just give yourself a break. Trust
Well,
that gut, listen to your body, and go with what you need.
and that's part of your redesigning your life. That when you move away from partner betrayal and really work into how can I take care of myself, find my joy, find my purpose. Um, that's scary because they may have had that confidence before and lost it as a result of what happened to them. Or they may have been growing that and it got circumvented. And now they don't trust anything in their life is real, including their own view of themselves. And yet, we know that when somebody has been through this kind of horrific experience, um, it does grow them stronger. And there are things they've learned, even if they're afraid to talk about it or actually examine it for fear that maybe it'll get taken away again. So, your book, and I am talking with Tammy Gustafson, who wrote I love this, Broken to Brave. And she says this is your courageous act of healing after intimate betrayal. And it is courageous to move forward and to heal. And, the reveal may not have been something you asked for, but after that, how you reckon with, how you realign, and how you redesign is something that you can do. And that's what I mean. This is inspiring, but it's really good coaching. And I, like you, do the same thing. I say, time to take a sabbatical. If they're with somebody, I say, this is going to be scary stuff. Patrick Carnes, the guru of sex addiction, said, do not swear in front of your clients. But I'm going to tell you that scary shit to go out with your husband or your wife who has betrayed you and you're working on your relationship and talk about something that doesn't have to do with partner betrayal. That's hard stuff. And I always say, my job is to not have you be defined by partner betrayal. So I'm going to ask
Absolutely.
you, Tammy, tell me 3 words that would describe you that are adjectives that speak to your strength.
Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you threw in an English lesson in that as well. I don't,
I am blank. I am blank. I am blank. And it can't be a noun.
yeah. Um, I am strong.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that I learned not in spite of this process, but through it. That I know at the core of my being now that I'm strong. Um, I am tender.
Mm-hmm.
I have a tender heart. And um, and uh, I am fierce.
Wow, that's a great one. That's really naming and claiming your energy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially in this realm, the mama bear inside of me, Carol, comes out something fierce sometimes. Of
Mm-hmm.
I feel so protective and
Mm-hmm.
so strongly for betrayed partners, and for them to hear the message that you can make it through this
Mm-hmm.
and you can heal and there's good life ahead. And I don't know how many times I've told clients that and they're like, that's great. That's nice. I'm like, I know you don't have to believe me, but
Mm-hmm.
it's true.
Mm-hmm.
And then for them to come back years later and go, yeah, I didn't believe you, but
Mm-hmm.
it is true.
Mm-hmm.
And I think through this process too, you know, the bad news is we all know that betrayal shatters
Mm-hmm.
us.
Mm-hmm.
It shatters the good, and we know that. But the thing that we also maybe don't talk about enough is that betrayal also shatters the bad. Betrayal shatters all of those patterns that you have found yourself in that maybe don't serve you, but you don't know how to get out of. Maybe you don't even know that you're in those patterns. Betrayal shatters everything that's been placed on you and all the society expectations, and it shatters that as well. And so, with betrayal, while I would never ever wish it on anybody, the reality is that since we're here, like everything has been shattered. And now you can make the decision to pick up those pieces and create new patterns. And for me, part of this journey and part of being fierce is that I think I was born a strong little girl, but then that got taken out of me
Mhm.
from messaging or from cultural expectations or from a variety of different things. And so I spent a lot of life trying to grow back into that. And when betrayal happened, it's like it freed me from all of that. And
Mhm.
in midst of all the pain and whatnot, I was able to step in to who I truly am. And that fierceness and that strength, that's part of it. And I will never be grateful for betrayal. I don't think anybody ever has to be grateful for trauma like that. But I am proud of the woman I become through this.
Mhm.
And it, man, and that is the same, that can be the same for every betrayed partner out there. It is a battle, but it is worth fighting for yourself.
Mhm. It reminds me of the very saying I have right in front of me, and it's a Marianne Williamson quote. And she says, playing small does not serve you. You were born to be brilliant. And I believe that so many well meaning parents slash that. They don't want us to own our own brilliance. And as a result, you want to be humble and have humility. And so when Tammy said she was fierce, and I love that because that goes beyond I'm strong willed, I'm determined, I'm tenacious. I mean, that is, you, you called it mama bear energy. And I agree with you. But it really, I think, speaks to how Tammy feels about herself. Now, she said something so important because you said, you and I both believe it's the APSATS way for sure. And you've said it in your book that you as a partner can stay for any reason. And, she said finances, the kids. I say, you may be too tired to split things in half, to move, to be removed. There's just all sorts of reasons that it's okay to stay. And if at some point you decide that you're ready, you will know that because once you've learned what's happened to you and you realize how deception stole that intuition, nobody can do that to you again. You will always be able to count on your intuition. Now, I don't know about you, Tammy, but I say in one of my books that some of the residue from betrayal is that there is that part of you that says, okay, he was late. Is he acting out and I'm in denial? Do I not see it? What's going on? Or, something doesn't feel right. Does that mean he is? And so it's all this confusing potential or possible evidence that she is sifting through to try to figure out what in her life today is real. Um, your book talks about that too. And you shared a story about yourself. Will you share how you knew you were healing?
Is there a specific story you're talking about? Because I don't know which one you're talking about.
I just remember saying to myself, that's when she knew that she was realigning and redesigning. So, can you tell us?
Well, I don't remember a specific time, but for me, I think um, it was a process in regards to our relationship. Like we hung on by a thread for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for that, for seeing that that was healing, that was him doing the work. of rebuilding trust and being trustworthy over a long period of time. But one thing that comes to mind when you mention that, when did I know I was healing? I don't know if this was in the book, but the thing that comes to mind is I took a couple years off college and I lived over in Europe. And I started on the weekends when I needed to get away by myself, I would grab a train and head over to Paris and spend some time just reconnecting with myself. And then you go on with life and got married and have kids and didn't travel for a long time. And then about 5 years after betrayal,
Mm-hmm.
I went back over to Paris again by myself for the same type of thing, for just a time to reconnect with myself. And
Right.
I had certainly felt I had done a lot of healing before then, but I remember going and reclaiming parts of me that were lost along the way. The parts, the adventure part, the fun part, the traveling overseas part. And one of the things I did during that trip is I scheduled a photo shoot. And it was not because I felt beautiful. It was not because I felt like I was somebody special who deserved a photo shoot in Paris. It was kind of because I didn't feel any of those things, because I didn't feel beautiful and I didn't feel special in that way. But I thought, you know what? Instead of waiting until I felt worthy, I was going to do it anyways. And that photo shoot, I saw my beauty for the first time. And
Wow.
there's a one picture in particular where I am sitting on a bridge in front of the Eiffel Tower, and through the lens of this camera and this cameraman, I looked peaceful.
Mm-hmm.
And it also happened to be the 5 year anniversary of my D-Day.
Wow.
And so that picture was a symbol to me that I was stepping into life again.
Mm-hmm.
And I was stepping past pain and I was pushing into reclaiming myself, and not even reclaiming myself, but then even going a step further.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a very powerful moment and a trip, very powerful trip for me.
Well, no kidding. You do what I talk about, which is that old recovery adage of fake it till you make it, or um, taking that next step. You went to Paris to find yourself again, or to reveal to yourself who you really were, or to regain something that you had had. And you said, I want that adventure again. You booked something that you would have never thought you would have booked, in part because you had made the decision that you were going to act as if you could find it. And when you did that, you did find it. And that's so important for our partners to think about. What in your life do you want to find again? Or do you want to redesign for the first time? And what would your head, your heart, and your intuition tell you is the way to do that? Because Tammy, you knew I'm gonna hire this photo shoot and I'm gonna see what it brings me. You didn't know what it actually would bring, but intuitively you did. You knew you'd be proud of yourself and who you become. Mhm. So now
Yeah,
tell us a little bit about your business, because you have a very well defined business. You offer a lot of services. And again, I'm talking with Tammy. I just love this. Tammy Gustafson, and she has written Broken to Brave, a, a beautiful metaphor for how you find your brave self out of the broken pieces. Um, Tell us a little bit about you. What are you doing these days?
yeah. Well, talking about Paris, that is one of the things that I has become a kind of a cornerstone of my business, as I now take women who are far along in their healing process after betrayal, and I take them to Paris, France.
Mm.
And we go sit in front of the Eiffel Tower and we do a photo shoot and we do a whole lots of other things. But part of what I discovered was Paris was a really wonderful part of my healing process. And I started to think, wouldn't that be great to share this with others? And so now, about twice a year, I take groups of women to Paris to help them dive back in to joy and beauty and adventure again, and not just on their own, but in a community of women who get it. And it is so powerful to see these strangers from all over the country and the world come together and within the matter of days just form this deep bond where they feel belonging and love. So retreats have become one of my favorite things I do because I think you don't have to just heal over Zoom, or you don't have to just heal sitting and talking with somebody. And I've been a therapist for a long time. I totally appreciate that. But there is something so beautiful and life-giving when you can heal experientially,
Hmm.
um, and overseas. I mean, how much better, and with a group of women. So retreats are a big part of what I do now. And
Wow.
then the other big thing I do is the Betrayal Healing Conference, which I do once a year. And my heart and passion for that is I see my role is to gather. I want to gather safe speakers, because really when you really don't know who is safe and who to listen to and whatnot. So I do my best to gather safe speakers and then to gather betrayed partners who are looking for hope and healing and guidance. And we come together for 5 days and for free. I mean, if people want to upgrade, they can pay for that. But registration is free so that it can reach as many people as possible and
Hmm.
all around the world, and really get really solid, really practical help. So those are the two biggest things that I do, and now with the book on top of it as well. So now that has been a labor of love in and of itself.
You're breaking my heart. When I wrote Help or Heal, teaching sex addicts how to develop empathy for their partners, I got a contract to go to Italy and to stay in a retreat center. I've done retreats myself a lot in my youth, to go to a retreat center with a travel agent who was a partner. And we were going to put 15, excuse me, people in an old French chateau. And then COVID hit.
Oh
And then our trip
no.
got canceled, and I've not been overseas. So I get how exciting it is to experience things that you've never experienced. For you, you had experienced it a long time ago. Um, and being in other places reminds you, I think it reminds you of two things. One is how big our brains are for taking on new experiences. And it also reminds us how small we are, in that, it's not just about the United States. It's not just about these politics or this. There's a big world out there that's more than betrayal. So, Tammy Gustafson, thank you so much. Everybody go out and get her Broken to Brave. Tell everybody what your website is.
It is tammygustafson.com,
Spell
or
it for us.
also, yeah, tammygustafson.com. That's the best place to find me.
And we'll have all that in the notes so you can take a look at what she's doing, what's available to you. Um, I know that somebody in the CSAT world was doing similar trips. And I said, do you have to be a partner? I'm not a partner. I said, do you have to be a partner to be part of the group? And for this group, they said, no, you don't, but you will be mostly around partners. I thought, okay. I just wish you the best. Her summit's the greatest. This book is brilliant. And Tammy, thank you for all the work you do.
Oh, and thank you, Carol, so much for having me and for all your wisdom and work as well.
Okay, you let me know when you write your next one. Now, as we always say, there will only be one of you at all times. So fearlessly have the courage to be yourself and take her advice. Tammy's got a lot of wisdom. Self compassion, constructive compassion, self care. That's how you will heal. And maybe even go on a retreat with her. We'll talk to you soon.